Good evening friends, welcome to PDF for Exams YouTube channel. Today is day 11 and we are learning polity. So let's see what we are going to learn in this video. So in this video we will be learning about the basic structure of constitution. Now what is this basic structure? If you remember, in previous video we have learned or we have seen several times whenever Supreme Court used to pass any judgment or whenever any new law was made in Parliament or any amendment was done, Supreme Court always used to focus on one word, that was basic structure. That means any laws could be made, any amendments could be done, but it should not hamper the basic structure of our constitution. So in this video we are going to learn what were those basic structure or what are these basic structure which should not be hampered in any case whatever happens. So before moving into video, I am telling you about two important articles. One is Article 13, which you already know, and one is Article 368. Now what does this Article 13 say? This Article 13 is a part of our fundamental right in Part 3 of our Constitution. We have already learned this, and this Article 13 serves as a protector of our fundamental right. That means our fundamental right cannot be hampered in any case. Whereas this Article 368 gives power to Parliament to amend any article of the Constitution. Amend means to change any article according to the requirement of the current scenario. So these are the two articles, and if we combine or clash these two articles, so we see here Article 13 says that our fundamental right cannot be violated in any manner, but Article 360 gives power to Parliament. That means either our Parliament has more power to amend or change or violate our fundamental right, or this Article 13 has power to protect our fundamental right from any kind of amendment. So because of this, there has always been tussle of power between Supreme Court and between Parliament of a country, and this tussle created a series of cases, and because of those cases this basic structure of a constitution was formed. There is no basic structure, there is no exact definition of basic structure. It is changing time to time. That means there are several additions or removal will be done time to time according to the cases which are being followed or the judgment, whatever happens. So it is not fixed, it changes from time to time, but there are several definitions which are available. We'll see later in this video. So let's see what is written in this text. So as I said, basic structure means those basic fabric of Indian Constitution which cannot be hindered by Act of Parliament. That means Parliament do not have power to touch the basic structure of a constitution. So whatever comes under basic structure of constitution, Parliament cannot even think of hindering it. Next, as we know, the present position of Parliament under Article 368 can amend any part of constitution including the fundamental rights. Now you see here Article 13 says fundamental rights should be protected. Article 368 gives power to Parliament to amend articles or any law in constitution. That over here we can see even our fundamental rights can be amended, but the point that has to be noted that our basic structure of the constitution should not be hindered. Now these basic constitution or basic structure of a constitution are not given in any part of a constitution. They are derived from several part of constitution. So several parts defines that, for example, judicial review. So judicial review cannot be denied in any case. So this comes under basic structure. So like this, many cases or many instances are taken from several parts of constitution as basic structure. Now we'll see the series of cases which gave emergence to basic structure of a constitution. So the very first case was Sankari Prasad case 1951. Now why this case was brought up to Supreme Court? Before that, there was a first constitutional amendment, that was first constitutional amendment in 1951. In this constitution amendment itself, the right to property or compulsory acquisition of property, article number 31 was amendment. Now this, as we know, article 31 comes under fundamental right. Why? So as we know, article 12 to 35 is fundamental right. That's why this article 31 was also a part of fundamental right, but still it was amended in first constitution amendment. So this was challenged in Sankari Prasad case in 1951. So in that case, Supreme Court gave its judgment that Article 368 can also amend our fundamental right, as there was no restriction mentioned in Article 368 for Parliament. So this happened. So now next case, that is So next case, that is Golaknath case in 1967. Before this case there was one more case, Sajjan Singh case, but in that case also Supreme Court judgment was same, it wasn't changed. That means Parliament had right to amend the fundamental rights also. But in Golaknath case 1967, which was a very important case, and till date, that means till 1967, it constituted of maximum number of judges. 11 judges were there sitting and hearing this Golaknath case. In this case, what happened? Supreme Court reversed its judgment. That means in previous cases, Supreme Court said that Parliament had right to amend a fundamental right, whereas in this Golaknath case, Supreme Court reversed and said that fundamental rights cannot be amended by Parliament. But as we know, during that time, during 1967, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was in power. She didn't like this actually. That means the power of fundamental or power of Parliament. She didn't like this because the power of Parliament was reduced by not allowing them to amend the articles. So she passed in 24th Amendment Act, and several changes were done in Article 13 and Article 368. One extra clause was added in Article 13, and Article 368 was amended itself. And what that declared in Article 13, the clause said that nothing in this article shall be applied to any amendment of Constitution made under Article 358, even 358. That means any amendment done by 368 was not to be clashed with Article 13. Article 13 could not protect our fundamental rights if it was needed to amend according to Article 368. And it also declared Article 368 that Parliament has power to abridge or take away any fundamental right, and such act will not be law under meaning of Article 13. So this was done in 24th Amendment Act. Now again, this constitutional amendment was challenged in Keshwanand Bharti case. This case is also very important, and after Golaknath case, the maximum number of judges which sat for hearing one case was Keshwanand Bharti case. In this 13 benches, that means 13 judges were sitting one bench to listen to the case. Now what did happen in this case? In this case, Supreme Court overruled the judgment in case of Golaknath case. In case of Golaknath case, Supreme Court said that Parliament cannot amend fundamental right. But over here, the Supreme Court said that fundamental rights could be amended, but it laid down a new doctrine of basic structure. Doctrine means a law of basic structure, or you can say a basic structure was initiated in Keshwanand Bharti case, and according to this, Article 368, Parliament could amend any act of the Constitution, but it should not hamper the basic structure of Constitution, and from here the basic structure was inserted. Now what is this basic structure? We will see later on, and we have already said that basic structure does not have any fixed definition but keeps on changing as per the requirement. But after this amendment, and 42nd Amendment Act was passed in 1976. Still Indira Gandhi was in power, and what was the new Amendment Act? So in this Amendment Act, Article 368 was declared that there is no limitation on constituent power of Parliament, and Parliament can amend any article. And the important part of this 42nd Amendment of 1976 was that that no amendment can be challenged in Supreme Court. That means whatever amendment was done in Parliament using Article 368 could not be challenged in Supreme Court. Now here what we can see, democracy was being killed. That means whatever Parliament decides was final. It could not be challenged, or it could not be allowed for judicial review. So this 42nd Constitution Amendment was again challenged in Minerva Mills case, that is 1980, and this finally gave an official use of basic structure. That means officially it was said that basic structure of Constitution should not be hampered in any case, and judicial review has to be done. Judicial review is the right, and it is part of basic structure, and it will be used in any case whenever requirement. That means any amendment done in Parliament has to go under judicial review if it was required. The last important case is Vaman Rao case 1981, and through this case the Supreme Court clarified that doctrine of basic structure will apply to Constitution amendment enacted after 1973. That means after 1973 this doctrine of basic structure will be applied, and anything, if any laws are made, if any amendments are done, this rule has to be followed, that basic structure should not be hampered. So this was all about the basic structure. There are few elements of basic structure. Let's see what are those elements. So as I said, although there are no fixed element, but still It is left to Supreme Court. They will clarify whenever requirement, and from various cases that has been under hearing, several basic structure part has been or several elements has been taken. For example, supremacy of constitution, sovereign, democratic and republic nature of Indian polity, secular character of constitution, unity, integrity. There are many list of elements given over here. You can read from the website itself. So this states all about the basic structure of a constitution. Now moving to emergency provision. Now what is this emergency? Whenever we listen this emergency, the very first instant that comes to mind is Indira Gandhi of 1975 national emergency. If you have read about it, you are very much familiar to it. But according to constitution, there are three kind of emergencies in India that can be enacted, and it is explained or given in part 18 of our constitution, which comes under 352 to 360. Whereas article 352 deals with national emergency, and other articles like 356 deals with state emergency and 360 deals with financial emergency. So types of emergency I've already told. There is national, state and financial emergency, and state emergency is also known as presidential rule. So starting with national emergency, what is this national emergency? So in article 352 itself, it is given that president can proclaim emergency. Proclaim means the president can insert or apply emergency throughout the country in case of war, external aggression or armed rebellion. This armed rebellion, where let's see 1 minute. Here it is given on grounds of war, external aggression and armed rebellion or imminent danger. So in these three cases, president had power to proclaim emergency or national emergency throughout the country. Now if we define this separately, what this is war? War means whenever official war is declared between two countries. For example, if India and Pakistan officially declares a war, in that case president can proclaim national emergency in a country. Second is external aggression. For example, any country without official informing. For example, we can see the China-India conflict at present. So that is external aggression in a country. And last is armed rebellion. Armed rebellions means the internal problems. For example, the Naxalite or any state suffering from these kind of internal problem, or many other problems are there which are internally held within the country. In that case also national emergency can also be proclaimed. So internal emergency, internal problems can be like Cold War. You might have heard in America, Cold Wars were there. So if some situation or situations like those happen in a country, in that case also national emergency can be proclaimed in a country. Now article 359, article 352 states there can be a national emergency in these particular cases, which is defined like war, external aggression or armed rebellion. And this article 359, it states that all fundamental rights shall be sustained, and no one can visit Supreme Court for proclamation of for violation of the rights. For example, any of individuals fundamental rights are violated, they could not go to court. But after some time, amendment was done. There were few fundamental rights which were not violated even during the national emergency, because during the national emergencies which happened in a country, there were 3 national emergencies. It was observed that many people's fundamental rights were done and many people have been detained illegally. So because of that, few fundamental rights were left. So if we talk about the fundamental rights, if we talk about the national emergency, the first national emergency was held in 1962 during India-China war. Second emergency was proclaimed in 1971, and many acts like MISA, Coffee Posa, Government Defence of India were adopted for preventive detention. That means during the second emergency there were lots of problem to citizen of a country. And the last emergency, which was very renowned and remembered till date, was emergency of 1975, which was held after India-Pakistan war. So let's talk about the approval of national emergency. So if any national emergency has to be proclaimed, it has to be a written notice has to be passed by cabinet. What is cabinet? Cabinet is a union of ministers. There are several ministers who form a cabinet for center or running a central government. So a written notice has to be passed by this cabinet to president, and if president feels that the situation is worse and cannot be controlled, in that case president can proclaim or approve the national emergency. Now soon after the proclamation of national emergency, it is sent to parliament for approval. So if we take example, today is 2nd July 2020. If today any national emergency or written notice is passed by cabinet to President will allow the insurgence or proclamation of national emergency. That means from today itself national emergency will start if President thinks the situation has worsened and it cannot be controlled. After that, today itself this notice will be passed to Parliament, and in Parliament it has to be given or approved by special majority. If special majority is given, it is valid till 6 months. That means although national emergency can be extended to unlimited time, that means until the situation is not under control, this national emergency can last, but initially it is valid for 6 months. And what happened, there are several cases. If any of the House of the Parliament do not give its approval or it doesn't says anything, in that case emergency can last for 1 month. So this was all about the approval of national emergency and how this national emergency is revoked. So for revoked, President can directly revoke the national emergency. He do not have to take any order or special majority from any of the houses, or else if it is directly disproved by Lok Sabha. So as we said that a written notice was passed to President and President proclaimed the emergency and sent the notice to Parliament, and in Parliament a special majority voting had to be done. In case any one of the house passed by special majority, the national emergency extended up to 6 months. In case any of these houses or Lok Sabha rejects, not any of these two houses, if Lok Sabha rejects this proposal of national emergency, this national emergency is end or revoked at that time itself. So this was all about approval of national emergency and revoking of national emergency. Now what are effects of national fundamental rights? So as we saw, or if you have read about the national emergencies, there were many problems. Because of this fundamental rights, many people have been detained, murdered, arrested because they didn't have their fundamental right. So it is clearly mentioned in Article 358 that Articles 19 to 16 are automatically suspended in case of war and external aggression. So as we have seen, national emergencies are proclaimed in 3 cases: war, external aggression, or internal disturbance, or armed rebellion. Armed rebellion was changed in Constitution Amendment 1978, 44th Constitution Amendment. The word was changed from internal disturbances to armed rebellion. So in these 2 cases, when there is a situation of war or external aggression, Article 19 to Article 19, there are 6 parts in Article 19. All these articles or all these fundamentals are automatically suspended except Article 20 and 21. Article 20 and 21 are not suspended, whereas all articles which comes under 19 are suspended, whereas in Article 359 special power to President has been given that if required these articles can also be suspended, or these fundamental rights can be also suspended during national emergency. This is all about national emergency. So what after this we'll see what are the effects of national emergency. So obviously effects would be not good in case of national emergency. In national emergency it is seen that the power comes to center, that means center becomes more powerful than state. So state and center relation has to be maintained and it affects this relation adversely. So what happened, this federal system of our government is transformed into unitary one. So as we know, our government, or we have federal form of a structure in government. We have parliament at center and legislative assembly and council at state level. So during national emergency this is converted to one, that is parliament. Most of the power comes to parliament. Although executive function, that means state government, are not suspended. During national emergency any state government is not suspended, but the execution of anything has to be taken place by the instruction of center. That means center is responsible for enacting or instructing state for its execution of anything whatever happens. And during national emergency we have seen that the tenure of Lok Sabha or tenure of that government at present government can increase by 1 year at a time. That means if a resolution is passed, or that means a majority is given in parliament and required in case of national emergency, the tenure of Lok Sabha keeps on extending for 1 year. And once this emergency is revoked, at that time the period of Lok Sabha can end maximum to 6 months. For example, if national emergency has been going on in our country since last year, and today on 2nd July this national emergency ends. So from today the Lok Sabha tenure can extend only up to 6 months. After that fresh election has to be take place if 5-year tenure has already been completed of Lok Sabha. So this is all about the central and state relation, how central and state function during national emergency. Next is presidential rule or state emergency. So presidential rule has been defined in Article 355, and 355 imposes duty. That means it is center's duty to protect state from certain consequences. What are those consequences or action? Those are external aggression. If any external aggression happens to that state, center is responsible for protecting that state. If there is any internal disturbances, or if there is respecting constitutional provision, that means if state is not abiding our constitution, it's not respecting the constitution in its legislation or functioning, in that case also state emergency can be proclaimed by president, or president rule can be applied to that particular state. Now if we talk about how this presidential rule starts, so it is given in Article 356. According to this, what happened when governor, there are three cases when this presidential rule is applied on any state. So as we know, a governor is constitutional head of state. Yes, we have seen this in executive or state executive. So over here what happened, whenever government feels that state is not abiding the constitution or not running properly, governor can give written notice to president and welcome or invite president to take presidential rule or form presidential rule in that particular state. This is the very first reason. Second reason or second type in which approval can be done for state emergency is when president himself is satisfied that state is not functioning properly. In that case also state emergency or presidential rule can be used in any state. And in third case, whenever state is not following center, as we know center is most powerful than state. It is very obvious. If there is one country and center is handling the entire country, and there are several states and each state has one government, so center would be more powerful. So in some cases what happen, if state is not following center properly, in that case also president can assume that presidential rule has to be applied on states. So these were the types, or these were the ways by which state emergency can be proclaimed. Now next is how the approval of state emergency is given. So we have seen the three cases in which state emergency could be proclaimed. So over here, soon after the approval of this emergency, for example today state emergency is being proclaimed by president in any state, so it can last up to 2 months. Soon from today itself, as it was in case of national emergency, so today president gave order for presidential rule in some state, it started from today itself, and maximum period could be 2 months. But at the same time it is given in parliament for approval, and in this case, in case of national emergency, we saw that the resolution has to be passed by special majority, but here it should be passed by just simple majority. That means 50% of members present in the house, or 50% who will get the maximum voting. If they give the if it is passed by parliament, this state emergency valids up to 6 months. That means it can increase up to 6 months. And how it is end, or how the state emergency end, if parliament does not approve, it's when the resolution is given to parliament, it does not approve that there should be state emergency in the state. In that case state emergency is revoked from the particular state, or else president had direct option to revoke state emergency or presidential rule from any state. What happened if we take example, in 1992 there was Babri Masjid demolition. During that time Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, these three states or one more state was under presidential rule, because they were found that they were secularly not working properly. That means they were not following the constitution as per religion. Because of religious issues, these states were under presidential rule. So this is all about the state emergency or presidential rule. Next comes the consequences. What could be the consequences of presidential rule? As we can see, he can take up the function of state government and power vested in governor or any other executive authority. That means complete power of state will go to center in case of state emergency, as it is presidential rule. He can declare that power of the state legislature are exercised by the parliament. Again the same thing. And he can take all necessary steps, including suspension of constitutional provision relating to any body authority of state. That means there are several positions in state who are constitutionally active, and in case of state emergency, parliament or central government can take those power also. Next is financial emergency. Till now in history there has no financial emergencies happen in our country. Article 360 defines the financial emergency, and what does this financial emergency say? So if required, a proclamation declaring financial emergency must be approved by both houses of the parliament within 2 months from date of the issue. For example, if today financial emergency is issued, again it has to be approved by both houses within 2 months, or else financial emergency would be revoked if it is not approved by parliament. And here the voting is done by simple majority, not special majority. And what are the effects? If talking about the effects, what are the effects in case of this financial emergency? So over here, the executive authority of center extend the direction as president may deem necessary and adequate for purpose. Any such direction may include provision requiring reduction of salary. See, these are important points in case of financial emergency. Although there has been no financial emergency, but in future, if any financial emergency are proclaimed, in that case, government can reduce the salaries and allowances of any class of person serving the state. That means if there is any government employee, their salaries can also be reduced. For example, at current we are suffering from corona pandemic, so in this case financial emergency could be revoked, and the consequences would be that the salaries of all the government officers or private officers or private working people's salaries are reduced in this case also. But in case of financial emergency, even government employee salary will be reduced, and reservation of all money bill and for the financial bill considered of the president. That means whatever money bill are being passed by the parliament or which are being issued in Lok Sabha will be considered by president, and after that only it will be passed. And president may issue direction for reduction of salaries and allowances of any of the class of persons serving union, judges, Supreme Court and High Court. That means any executive, any judiciary, any member, any office salary can be reduced during financial emergency. So this is all about today's video. In today's video we learned about basic structure of a constitution and about the emergencies, that is state emergency, national emergency and financial emergency. If you have any question related to today's video, you can always ask in the comment box. I will most probably answer them or explain them in next video. So I hope you like the video. See you next video. Till then, goodbye.